The wakefulness and sleep cycle in the human body can be very difficult to understand because there are various hormones and receptors that deal with making sure that you're either awake or asleep throughout the day or night. So one definition that we need to just make sure we're on the same page on is a hormone. So a hormone is a chemical or substance in the human body that carries signals to your brain to tell your body what's going on internally or externally. So with this said, when we are asleep and we become awoken, there are different things that go on outside of our bodies that can wake us up, and those are called stimuli. So these stimuli can include touch, being like shaken, like a bright light happening, or we can just hear something. The only sensory that is not being that cannot be wake you up is your sense of smell. So when we're asleep and let's say we have an external stimuli that tells our brain, oh, it's time to wake up, what happens is the hormone acetylcholine is released from your brain and tells your brain, time to wake up. So what acetylcholine does is it keeps you awake during the day and also wakes you up from sleep. Now when we go from being awake to going to sleep, the hormone adenosine prevents acetylcholine from being released. Okay, so adenosine actually blocks it completely, so acetylcholine cannot be released at all. And when we are asleep, we're actually in a state of unconsciousness, so our body is still working completely normal. We just don't know what's going on around us. So one thing that I like to compare the awakefulness and sleepfulness cycle to is actually the use of an iPhone. So in this right here, you can see that the iPhone, we have the power button and the home button. So the power button and the home button, as well as notifications, are very similar to stimuli. So when we either push the home button or we push the power button or we get a notification, we go to this screen, which is known as our lock screen. Now our lock screen is very similar to acetylcholine wanting to be released to tell the body, hey, it's time to wake up. So once that is released, we go to the passcode screen. So when we enter our password, that is very similar to acetylcholine being released and being all around your brain, so that way you can do various actions such as writing, reading, watching TV, having a conversation, different things like that. And this is the home screen of the phone, which is very similar to the wakefulness cycle because you can do very different actions on the iPhone once you get to this screen. So from here, this is where we go into the sleep cycle. So with the iPhone, once you're at the lock screen, there are two ways that it can go to sleep, and that's either by pushing the power button or just not stimulating the phone anymore. So stimulation of the phone includes constantly touching the home screen, so that way it knows hey, I need to be awake because my owner needs to use me. So once we either push the power button or we don't stimulate the iPhone for a while, that's very similar to adenosine coming in and saying, oh, it's time to sleep because either my body hasn't been stimulated for a while or it's that time of night where we need to go to sleep. So we go from this home screen back to the lock screen. And that is how the wakefulness and sleep cycle works.